Greetings, family. So today I came on with the intention of telling you about conversations that I have had with white men on the continent, specifically white men from the UK. But I realize now that the messages are so much deeper than the fact that these were white men. So here we go. So the first one was, I remember someone's car broke down on the highway, and I happened to be with my friend at the time who was a mechanic. This was about a year ago. And we're walking in Gambia area, and he keeps looking back, and I'm like, you want to go help them, don't you? He said, yeah, I want to go help them. I said, go ahead, if it means you're making a couple of dollars, do what you got to do. So while the people were getting the car fixed, he was talking to the driver, he was helping the man fix the car. The passengers got out of the car, and they were talking to me, right? And so the husband, of course, was very eager to have a conversation. The wife stayed in the car until she saw how happy her husband was talking to me. And then she got out the car, and they all kind of started talking, and they seemed to be like Dutch or something. Very pleasant, So apparently the younger passengers had walked off to the store before we came, and so they were on their way back. So one of them, I guess maybe he was the son, he looked like Grizzly Adams, he was a ginger, red beard, red hair, big guy. He starts asking me my name and if I live in the Gambia, and he asked me if I am dating the mechanic. And I was like, he's my friend, and I just thought that was interesting because I'm like, why are you asking me that? So the father then proceeds to say to me, where are you from? And I tell him I'm from Brooklyn, New York, originally, but I lived in PA many years. And he says, how does it feel to be in Africa? I was like, it feels amazing. How does it feel for you to be in Africa? And he looked baffled, like, why would you ask me that? And I just thought it was so interesting that he wanted to ask me this question with the underlying tone of, you're a Black American that was stolen from this place, or whose people or ancestral line may have been stolen from this place. How does it feel to be back? And I just simply, expressed to him that Africa was the motherland of all creation. So I feel at home. And I feel especially good when I see our faces on posters and billboards. I was like, kind of like when you're at home and you see your faces on billboards. And you could see it made him a little uncomfortable. So that was my first contact. My lesson from that was that people seem to be drawn to my energy and want to ask me questions that they've always wanted to ask, but they don't really know how to do it without being offensive. So I hope that was helpful to him. So now my second incident happened a few weeks ago. I was kind of rushing around trying to get things ready because I was cooking. It was last month when I was cooking. I had a dinner, a little brunch. That was a dinner at the house, and I made fried fish, and I did macaroni and cheese and the whole bit, because I'm a proper cook, right? I don't use no cheap cheese and canned stuff, canned foods. Everything I make is fresh and equally as healthy. Nevertheless, I'm in the store, and, there's an elder white man in the store, and he's picking out what he wants, and he's talking very slow, and what I want is already in a package in the case. So I simply gestured to the young man, who seemed to pause for a minute, and I said, do you mind if I get that? And the old man, I felt like he was yelling at me, but that might have just been my mood. He basically was like, he's taking care of me. You have to wait. And I don't know if it was the fact that he was white and he did that, making it seem like he was more relevant in getting his service than I was, or the fact that I was like, I wasn't talking to you. Like, who are you to address me? Right? So that really pissed me off. And I just simply said to him, don't talk to me. I am not speaking to you. I'm speaking to the young man behind the counter. You have nothing to say to me. Well, you need to wait. And when I walked away, I said I should not have even engaged. But I had to really think about, why was I so upset with what he said to me? One, it was the fact that I felt like, here we go again, another white person entitled, just like in the stage, trying to act like you have to wait for them. When really, in fact, he might have just been like, he's not done with me, wait. But I just didn't feel like it was his place to say anything to me. As I walked home, I contemplated why I was so upset. And it is a lot of trauma from the West, quite honestly. People being entitled, the Karens, the Johns, the Kens, And I hate saying Karens because one of my best girlfriends, her name is Karen. A couple of girlfriends named Karen. And they're nothing like these people they portray, right? But nevertheless, that we're using it for those people. All of you good Karens, I'm not talking to you. So that was my second incident. So then this final incident, and I'm not going to say final, but this third incident I had just happened yesterday. And I was like, you know what? I got to do a video about this. This third incident was, I go to the vegetable stand to this woman who's right by the power company. And I like to give her business first before I look anywhere else to see what she has. And she's helping someone. So I go look at what I'm looking at. And while he's fumbling with his bags or whatever, I'm asking her for prices. So he starts asking about a vegetable that's on top of the counter. And she's like, sis, can you help? Because she doesn't know how to explain it to him in English. Or the name of it in English. So I said, oh, you're talking about, squash. It's zucchini squash. They have a green one and they have a white one. And he's like, oh, I don't know this. So apparently he's from the UK. I could hear his accent. And he says, are you American? And I said, yeah. He says, oh, well, you could use this squash and hit someone over the head. And I just kind of looked at him. I was like, I'm not real clear, like where that even came from. I said, I don't utilize my food to hit people. And I turned around and kept picking out what I was picking up. So he says, well, if I were American, I'd run from the bullets too. I turned around and looked at him and I was like, what? I said, tell me how you got from food and the name of food and how it should be prepared to talking about violence. I said, it's a beautiful day in the Gambia. I don't choose to have a conversation with you about violence in America. Well, I don't choose to have a conversation with you at all. And I'm like, well, then why are you talking to me? He says, well, there are bullets in America and people are killing people. And I said, oh, so black people are not killed in the UK? So now he's uncomfortable, right? He said, well, we don't use bullets. We have batons. I said, oh, so black people aren't beaten in the UK? Now he's just like, I don't have to talk to you. We don't need to talk anymore. You don't ever have to worry about me talking to you again. I was like, well, that's the plan. Prior to that, when he made the comment about the bullets, he said about dodging bullets, I said to him, I think that'd be a little difficult for you. Because, he was big and sloppy with Crocs on. You see them old elders, bald-headed, just messy, obese, talking about bullets and dodging. And I was like, where did that even come from? It's almost like you get the feeling that white people from the UK are upset with the fact that we're here. Or they feel the need to make a comment. Like, I know many of them don't like America, but they feel like when they make a comment to you, like they're bonding with you. And I'm like you're offensive. And he was so angry that I wouldn't talk to him about the violence in America. So for me, it's just this feeling of, if I'm going to have a conversation like that, I don't want to have it with a white person. And if we are going to have that conversation, you're going to be talking to me about the responsibility of white people that are killing black people. They don't want to do that, though, right? They want you to talk about how much you hate your country or how dangerous it is so they can jump on that bandwagon. That's not something I'm going to do, right? My people are still in the States. I don't hate America. I don't like their policies. I do not like the way we are treated. So I chose to make other arrangements for me, but that doesn't mean I hate the country I came from, right? I dislike very strongly many of the people that are running the country. That's a whole nother story. Oh, and don't let me forget, there was another one. Here's a fourth one, y'all. I forgot about this one. I was walking up the beach one day, and this man approaches me. He was saying hi to someone I knew. And he says, I was walking up the beach with my wife and someone put a knife to my chest. And I said, really? He said, yes, the beach, it could be very dangerous over here. I said, well, you probably shouldn't come down at night alone. He said, it wasn't at nighttime. It was in the middle of the day. I said, oh, wow. I said, yeah, well, generally when I come down, it's very early, or, there's a lot of people when I do come, and I don't carry my devices with me. I come to stroll and I go back. He says, well, I've been coming here over 20 years and the violence in the Gambia is getting so bad. I said, well, the pandemic had a large effect on that. People are desperate. People need money, so I imagine that those people who don't have any morals about them will try to rob people. He says, yeah, when he put the knife to my chest, my wife hit him and made him go away. And he had no problem telling me that his wife defended him in a situation like that. So I'm just listening. He's an elder, and he's telling me his name, and he's saying he hate how Americans, cut names in half. And I said, no, not Americans. You mean white America cuts names in half. That's not something we generally do. If we give a nickname, that's something from your family, but we're not going to take a name like Bernard as people of color and change it to Bernie. It's just not really something we do, right? So I said, that might be that type of American. I can't relate to that. So anyway, again, with the generalization. So then he proceeds to say, did you hear about the violence in America? And I said, and what violence would that be? The 5 cops that killed the man. So immediately my mind goes to, so you want to talk about 5 black men that killed another black man, but you don't want to talk about all the white police officers that have been killing black people for centuries. So I didn't say anything. I just listened to him. I said, no, I didn't. You want to tell me about it? And he says, yeah, the 5 police officers. And then I recalled, I said, oh, you're talking about the officers. I said, because there's a difference, right? There are some black policemen who maintain their morality, their integrity, and they remember that black person they are arresting could be a family member, could be someone that they know. And they look at that person as having value because they value themselves. But then we know that there are those police officers who are no longer black when they put on that uniform. They are now blue. And blue is the standard, right? And when we say that, we're talking about the fact that their uniform is blue. So the blue comes before their color. And sometimes people like that can be worse, right? Because they feel the need to have to prove themselves to their colleagues who they're viewing as superior, obviously, because now they're going to compete with them and show them they can be tougher. They can crack the whip harder than they can, right? So I explained to him that those officers most likely related to being blue and not black, right? And that he should know the history of the police department. And he was just like flabbergasted. He's standing there with his mouth open, right? And I said, yeah, so the police department started from slave catchers. That was the mentality, right? And now he's uncomfortable. So I have to say to myself, like, what is it about me that makes these people want to have conversations with me about America's violence? So initially, like I said, it started as, okay, this is a white and black thing. But then I realized that this is deeper than that. This is more about my energy and how people feel the need to be a part of my energy, right? Either because they want me to make them feel better about something, or they feel like I will be a sounding board for them. So this is why I have gotten into the practice of restricting who has access to my energy, because I realize that this energy is for people who are receptive to it, right? And that my energy is for healing. And so I take time and try to explain things to people in a way that will help them better understand how what they're saying can be offensive. And if there are, in fact, people that are coming to the continent that have trauma, how a conversation like these would be difficult to have. And not to start conversations about things that you're comfortable with unless you're ready to get uncomfortable. Because now we got to talk about the source of these problems and where they come from. And I know that was a lot, but I hope you all are following and understanding what I'm saying. So that's where we are, family. My conversations with people who really lack understanding and who are conditioned to think a certain way. And when we have the opportunity, we can get angry and we can turn it into a race thing. Or we can use that time, that moment in time, to educate people about what is really happening in the States, in the world, in their minds, right? It's for me, there's nothing worse than people who are so liberal and claim not to have any prejudice or racism about them, when in fact it's something that's inherent. And until we're ready to address those things, we're really not ready for these conversations. So I ask you all to, keep your cap on, don't flip your lid, don't blow up, but really take the time to get people to understand, because it is definitely a level of ignorance. It is a lack of understanding, and there is something that we possess that could change all that, right? And it's not even about, turning the other cheek or being kind, but it is about your blessings and how we need to continue to move in love and grace. And if we can spread that, the world would be a better place. I hope this was helpful to someone. Share your comments. Let me know about your experiences. Blessings.